friends, and welcome to Inside Number 23, my podcast which is all about knitting and sewing and generally living the most crafty life possible. My name is Katie and you can find me on all the various social medias as Miss Lavelli. I am most active on Instagram, but you can find me on Ravelry and occasionally Periscope, so do feel free to check me out, give me a follow, say hello. There is also a Ravelry group for the podcast. If you go to the groups tab on Ravelry and search Inside Number 23 podcast, you will find our group, and that's where I post my show notes for all my episodes as well as popping them in the down bar down below, and it's just full of amazing people. It's where you can get involved in knit-alongs and sew-alongs and all of that good stuff, and generally just meet some lovely people and share some knitting goodness. It is episode number 43 today, and it's the first episode of December. I am really excited. I'm starting to feel incredibly festive, which is great. Let's start off by saying a big hello to all of my long-term viewers. I love you dearly. Thank you for coming back, and a huge big welcome and hello to any new subscribers who are joining me maybe for the first time today. Thank you for coming and spending a bit of your precious time with me. I've got some really fun things to talk about this week in terms of knitting goodness, and I just can't wait to get started. Like I said, starting to get very festive here. I've started Vlogmas again, which has been really fun, and I've kind of been blown away about how many other people are getting involved in Vlogmas in the knitting community this year. Last year it was just me on my lonesome, and now it feels like there's like 100 other people, but it's great. It means that your Christmas enjoyment for a daily kind of vlog is coming from all kinds of different sources, and it's just been really fun to catch up with everybody day to day. So yay guys, we're getting involved with Vlogmas, yay! Vlogmas, if I could actually talk. A little bit of administrative stuff before we get started. The Colourful KAL I was co-hosting, and I say this in inverted commas because really and truly I've been the most awful co-host. It did come to an end, our KAL, on December 1st, so it has now closed. However, I am not going to be drawing any prizes this week. I've not had the proper amount of time to go through the thread in my podcast group on Ravelry. So what I'm going to do is over the next week I want to go through in detail, have a look at everything, enjoy everybody's posts because you really should check them out, they're amazing, and then I'm going to be drawing some prize winners next week, so make sure that you tune in next week to find out if you've won anything. And I have realised I haven't actually shown you what prizes I have. I have this lovely bag of prizes that kind friends of the podcast have sent over, so again I will be sharing those with you next week. But it does mean at the moment that we are without a knit along, and that does feel a little bit odd, but I just want you to know that there are some seriously amazing things in the pipeline where knit-alongs are concerned. I have some really great plans for you, and in terms of those I will be making some announcements closer to the new year. So if you're a knit-along fanatic and you're thinking that you'd like a little bit more of that in your life, then just watch this space because I've got a couple of things in the pipeline, like I said, but I am so excited, you guys. Genuinely, there's something coming that's probably the most exciting knit-along that I've ever done, and it's going to be great. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will love it. I have one disclaimer before we get into all of the yarny goodness, and that is that this week's episode is going to be all about the socks, no sewing. It's all about the socks, no sewing. Yeah, unfortunately, I have not done any sewing again this week. I feel terrible about it. I had a day pretty much set aside for sewing and I got distracted by my sock knitting, and you know what? This time of year I think it's important to do what makes your heart happy, and so I still haven't made any proper headway on my cascade coat, which kind of sucks, but I will be doing some sewing this week, and I know that this is kind of like broken record because I said this last week, but I'm still a sock monster. It's all about the socks this week. I have a lot of amazing sock knitting to share with you, so bear with me. This is probably going to be the last week where everything is completely sock obsessed, but I know that you won't mind, and I do have some kind of new and interesting bits to share with you this week as well. But for all of you fans of the sewing segment of Sew What, I apologise. It is on hiatus again this week until I get the time to climb the mountain that is the Cascade Duffel coat. And to be honest, I might try a couple of smaller sewing projects in the meantime just to get my mojo back for sewing, because looking at the amount of pattern pieces, and I can see them, they're just piled on the floor over behind the camera here. It just feels like so much work. And although I'm very excited to undertake it, it's always those first couple of steps that are the hardest, and I just need to, you know, get my creative juices flowing again and just do it. I feel like I'm kind of like egging myself up for like a fight or something. I feel like I need to have the Rocky theme tune playing. Maybe that's what I'll do one day. I'll just put the Rocky theme tune on and be like, yeah, I'm gonna psych myself up and I'm gonna do the sewing. And this is really rambling. I'm gonna stop talking. Basically no sewing again, lots of socks. But before we get on to the sock madness that will be in this episode, I want to start off with, what am I wearing? And you may or may not have noticed I'm wearing a lovely piece of knitwear today, because this is the first episode of December and I thought, why not pop on the Christmas jumper? This is the one and only kind of Christmassy Christmas jumper that I've ever knit. I knit this a very long time ago now, and I know that if I were working on this now, I think I would probably change a lot of the methods that I used in the construction of it, because if you look at the inside, it's not as pretty as the outside. Also, it's a bit of a sad jumper, because obviously you can see, I'm going to stand up quickly, it's full colour work across the entire jumper. All these reindeers and Christmas trees, it's all the way down the sleeves, it's on the cuffs, it's everywhere. It's a lot of work, it's very involved, and I made this out of, I believe it's Rowan, I think it's called Cash Soft 4-ply, and it's a cashmere blend with wool. It's beautiful yarn, but like a lot of mass-produced yarns, it runs like nobody's business when you wash it, and I was still very kind of dewy-eyed and not that experienced with working with yarn when I first knit this up, and I washed it, I dried it, and it bled. And you can't really see it hugely, but a lot of my reindeers, as you can see, kind of have little pink tails, little pink beards going on. It's not something that's hugely noticeable, to be honest. From a distance, you can't really tell all that much, but I do notice it, and I'm not going to lie, it does annoy me, but I only wear this for basically 1 month of the year, not even that, just a couple of days in December, because it's so Christmassy. And I thought, after all the work I put into it, yes, it's disappointing that I had a mishap with the colour running, but I don't let it stop me enjoying it around about Christmas time, because it's so festive and lovely. In terms of the pattern, let me show you the pattern that I used. So this is the pattern book that I used for it. This is a Stitch in Time Volume 2, which is a Susan Crawford collection of patterns. This is very well known in the knitting circuit if you're into knitting vintage inspired garments, because Susan Crawford, for her Stitch in Time Volume 1 and Volume 2, basically took a whole load of beautiful vintage patterns and made them up with modern yarns in kind of conventional needle sizes as opposed to vintage needle sizes, as needles have changed over the years. And it's just one of the most wonderful books that I have ever had the pleasure of owning. I absolutely love this book, and I do think it's about time I made something else out of this. But this is the pattern, as you can see. Isn't it glorious? You can see I changed the colours up quite considerably. It's knit in white, navy and gold in the original, and it's called the Colourful Sports Outfit. And it was an absolute dream to knit. I loved it. It was a lot of work, I'm not going to lie. Particularly at the point where I knitted this, I wasn't used to knitting colour work. So it was a challenge, but I love it, and I bring it out every year at Christmas, and I enjoy it, even though it had a little mishap with colour runnage, as it were. But it's beautiful, and it's so warm and snuggly. I really, really love this jumper, in case you can't tell. One other thing that I am wearing this week, which you can't see because it's down below, but I'm going to try and contort myself so you can see. I'm wearing my Pumpkin Spice Latte socks. That was a terrible angle, wasn't it? But I have been wearing my hand knitted socks all the time at the moment, and these are, they're just beautiful. The pattern, of course, is CC Almon, her I Love You More Than Pumpkin Spice pattern, and this is the Pumpkin Spice Latte colourway from Hand Dyed by Kate. And I just love these socks. They make me very, very happy. Let's see. One more look. And yes, the orange does clash with the red of my jumper, but do we care? No, because when I go out, these go into my boots, and right now, no one can see, no one can tell if I'm wearing orange and red at the same time. It's fine. So that's what I'm wearing. Very, very happy in my festive knitwear, with a little hint of pumpkin spice thrown in for good measure, because I am a pumpkin spice girl all year round. But we're going to move on now to the main segment of this week's podcast, and that is what's on my needles. And surprise, surprise, what's on my needles, you may ask? Socks. Pretty much just socks. I do have one project that is not socks, which I'm going to start with this week, but it's very similar to socks. It's not that different to a pair of socks, and that is living in my little pug bag, which I absolutely love. It's so gorgeous. Made by lovely Mel for me. I love it. Thank you, Mel, as always. I showed you last week that I had finished my first of the August mittens. Isn't this gorgeous? Let's just enjoy it one more time. Oh, cable goodness. Cable goodness. It's beautiful. I absolutely love it. But I did this week cast on the second one. So yes, this is the second of the August mittens. I've just done a little bit of this, but I love it so much. The yarn is, of course, by John Arbon. It's the shade, I believe it's 74 in their Knit by Numbers 4-ply. And I love it still. It makes me so happy. It's so pretty and gorgeous, and I'm very, very happy. This literally was about one evening's worth of knitting on this, and it's already grown quite a bit. The first one shot off my needles, so I really want to make sure that I spend at least some of my time this week working on these mittens, because it's been getting so cold here in the UK. I think some mornings it's been about -4 degrees outside, which is just very unpleasant. You get very, very cold nose and ears and fingers. Fingers get super cold. And I'm at the moment wearing some shop bought mittens. They're kind of the ones that have half fingers but also have a little flap that you can pop over. And they're very nice, but they are acrylic. I can feel that they're acrylic, and they just don't keep me warm because of that. This yarn is the most snuggly, gorgeous yarn in the world, and I absolutely love it. So I really, really want to finish these to keep my fingers nice and toasty warm for my dog walking escapades. But yes, living in here, and fingers crossed I shall finish these soon so that I can have nice toasty fingers. But as always, I love this pattern. The whole the August mittens is one of the mittens from the year of mittens. I will put the links down below as to what that is, but genuinely every pair of mittens in that collection I've absolutely loved. So if you're interested in knitting mittens, I would very much recommend that you take a look at that pattern selection, because it's just fantastic. So let's move on, shall we, to socks, because yes, like I said, I'm still the sock monster. The sock monster is alive and well and living within me, and all I can think about at the moment is knitting socks. And this week, I'm very happy to announce that I have a half object finished. And yes, for those of you who've seen my favourites video, my November favourites, if you haven't, I'll pop a link somewhere up in the top so that you can have a look at that. But you've already seen a sneak peek of this half object, and it is my Mercury sock. Isn't it amazing? Oh my goodness. So I know that this pattern has been making the rounds in a lot of podcasts, in particular Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast and Casey of Creative Musings have made, I think, a couple of pairs of these now, and this is the first one that I finished. But you guys, I think genuinely this is my favourite sock pattern at the moment. It's beautiful. So it has this gorgeous lacy look. Isn't it gorgeous? I love it. And this yarn is some of my favourite yarn of all time. This is Nora George yarn. The amazing Tracy sent me this, and it's the Toffee Apple colourway, and it's a sock set, so you get the main colour of the yarn and then you get this gorgeous contrasting, I like to call it sour apple green, and look at how beautiful they are. I just, oh, be still my heart. I love these socks so much. I sent Tracy a message this week just to thank her again for this gorgeous yarn, and she is so talented. I just thank the knitting gods that she dyes and I get to be able to use her product, and oh, she's amazing. I fangirl over how amazing she is, but I just kind of wanted to thank her again and be like, these are like the most favourite socks that I've ever knitted, and I can't tell you how happy they make me. And yeah, in case you don't know, this makes me very, very happy indeed. But excitingly, this week I managed to start the second one. So I know there's not very much here. I've done, I think, 2 repeats of the lace panel, but again, this was an evening's worth of knitting on this. So it does actually work up very, very quickly. I usually do a 1x1 twisted rib on my socks, but the pattern called for a 2x1 rib, and I think it looks really pretty. I think that when I make these again, I will do my normal twisted rib, because I will be making these again, but they're just gorgeous. I am using my Knit Pro Symphonies for this sock. I in general prefer to knit on metal needles than wooden needles, but I just really, really like these needles with this yarn. It's odd, but they're 2.25mm Knit Pro Symphonies, gorgeous yarn, gorgeous pattern. I really can't say much more than that. I really love this yarn. My little cake of the Toffee Apple colour has shrunk somewhat from when I last showed you, because obviously I've got a whole sock out of it, but it's one of my most favourite things that I've ever made. I love it so much. So much! But yeah, I'm going to put this down because it's just going to distract me, because it's so amazing and I love it so much. But that is my hoe and cast on the second sock. I'm getting through these socks pretty well. Next pair of socks. I've got so many socks on the needles, it's not even funny. But the next pair of socks, I haven't had a huge amount of progress on them this week, but I'm still very much enjoying them. And that is my 2 at a time socks, living in my little Space Kids bag that I made for myself. First ever project bag that I made, and I really love it. But these are my 2 at a time socks. Dee dee dee. Aren't they adorable? But this yarn is London House yarns, and in the Yule Ball colourway, so this beautiful striped stellina goodness, and it's a Harry Potter themed colourway, obviously, after the Yule Ball of Harry Potter. And yeah, I was struggling a little bit with the 2 at a time. I think I've just tangled up the yarn quick. Can't do that with 2 at a time socks. That could be hazardous to do that. But I love these. They are so cute and very addictive. I do find that with the 2 at a time, because I'm not used to the yarn management aspect, that I do only ever do a couple of rows at a time and then put them down and work on something else. So I'm definitely not a complete 2 at a time convert, but I must say the more that I work on these, the more normal it feels to work on them. So you never know. I may have a lot more of these in the near future, but just for now, I am really enjoying these. And London House Yarns is one of my favourite dyers, particularly for self-striping. The colours that she does are incredible, and I'm really tempted to try and snag some more before Christmas, but I have a lot of yarn, you guys. I don't really need any more, but sock yarn doesn't count, isn't that the case? Sock yarn, it's not really like buying yarn and adding to your stash. It doesn't count. Shh. So I have one more pair of socks that I'm going to share with you this week, and this is a brand new work in progress. This was started very recently, and you may be able to guess why. I started them at the beginning of December, and it is my Advent socks for 2016. I decided that this year I wanted to purchase an Advent calendar of yarn, because last year I can remember looking at Instagram around about Christmas time, and I wasn't as into the online knitting community as I am now. I was just kind of paddling my toes in the water of the knitting community, as it were. But one thing that I really remember, I believe that it was actually from the Bakery Bears podcast. I remember that they were opening an advent calendar every day, and I think it was the Opal advent calendar, which I know that a lot of people have bought this year. Luckily, I was able to snag one of the incredible Kate Celine's advent calendars. So hi Kate, if you are watching, thank you so much for making such incredible things. And I treated myself to one of her advent calendars, which actually has 25 skeins of yarn, I believe, and the one for Christmas is a little bit fatter than all of the others. But I knew from the very minute that I ordered my advent calendar that I would want to make some socks, some scrappy socks. I mean, there was really no question, because I've been so into sock knitting. I am the sock monster. I'm possessed by the sock monster. I thought I am going to absolutely love knitting on a pair of socks every day. I'm not going to show you the advent calendar just yet, because I want to pop that into Stash Enhancements, just to show you how it's all laid out, because it's utterly beautiful. It's so gorgeous. But I am going to show you the progress I have made on my advent socks so far. So first of all, I've put my socks in this bag, and this was made for me by the incredible Shannon of Socksetra podcast, and she makes and sells these bags. She has an Etsy shop, and I love it so much. It has little kitties on the bottom, kitty polka dots, as you can see, and then yarn on the top, and it has a hot pink lining. It just makes me so happy, and especially because it was made specifically for me by my lovely friend Shannon, it makes me very happy to pick it up every day in Advent and get my lovely socks. I just need to do a little bit of yarn untangling, because it seems that some of the mini skeins are getting friendly and grabbing onto each other. Okay. What I decided to do with these socks, I considered doing 2 at a time, but I wanted to try knitting them consecutively. It just made more sense to me, because with yarn management of 2 at a time, I can find it quite stressful. But also with these, I'm going to be constantly breaking the yarn and joining new yarn, because they're scrappy, because it's, you know, a couple of rows of each colour every day. So I decided to knit them consecutively. And I did actually purchase some new needles specifically for this. I have some higher sharps in here, these gorgeous higher sharps. These are 80 centimetre length, which I prefer when I'm using Magic Loop, which is my technique of choice for socks. And here it is. Here is my Advent sock. So this is days 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I cast on the toe in the first day. This is the second stripe, the second day, the third day and the fourth day. So there they are. Aren't they amazing? It is a little difficult to tell the difference between these 2 stripes. They are quite close, but you can see there's a stripe there. But I love these. I'm doing a very kind of, it's really becoming my vanilla sock recipe of choice. The way that I do it is I cast on, I think it was 8 stitches on each needle, so 16 stitches in total. Then every alternative row I do 2 increases, 1 on each end of each needle. So I increase by 4 stitches every other row, every other round rather, until I get to 56 stitches, and then I knit for, I have quite big feet, by the way, so bear that in mind. I knit for from the end of the toe to before I start the heel. I believe in general it's about between 7.5 to 8 inches, depending on my gauge and how flexible the yarn is, that type of thing. Usually it's closer to 8 inches. I do have big feet, guys. I then have been doing just a simple wrap and turn heel, and then I knit up the leg, and then I do about 20 rounds of 1x1 twisted rib at the end. So right now I'm just on the foot of my sock. The way that I'm working with the different colours for this is that I'm doing 20 rounds of each colour. So I did the toe in its entirety in one colour, but then with the colours that I'm using throughout the foot and the leg, I'm just doing 20 rounds of each, and it gives me these nice chunky stripes, and my goodness, these make me so happy. So happy. I can't tell you how glad I am that I purchased this advent calendar, because these are just bringing me so much joy. I can't even tell you. I mean, you can tell from my face, I'm so happy with these socks. I'm loving them, and they just make me happy. And it's so nice every morning to get a nice cup of tea and take a couple of minutes and just sit and knit on my socks. I'm loving them. So much so that I have a little bit of a confession to make about these socks. And that is that this morning, because it is the 4th of December today, this will be going live on the 5th of December, which is Monday, because I always upload my podcast the next day after I filmed. I got really overexcited after having knit day 4, and I may or may not have opened day 5 as well. My reasoning is that it's okay to do that because this podcast is actually going live on Monday, which will be the 5th. So therefore, me having the 5th day of my advent calendar on my socks already is totally fine and not naughty at all to have jumped a day ahead. So I have started knitting in my other sock. I've started knitting day 5, and I think this is my favourite colour of all so far. Here it is, this beautiful, it's all these icy colours, so blues and lavender, but it's also got little pops of pink, and I love it. I have put my little bookworm charm on here again because I just love this, but I've got a couple of matching progress keepers that I think I'm going to use on the socks, so Mr. Bookworm may have to go onto a different project, but yes, I have started knitting day 5 onto this. I wanted to close up the What's on My Needles segment this week by talking about the Box of Socks KAL, which has been hosted during this whole year by the amazing Kristen of Villain Vine Yarns and the Yarngasm podcast. So many people have been getting involved in Box of Socks this year, and it's great. And I must admit, I started this year all guns blazing, really into knitting socks, was easily knitting a pair of socks a month, no problem. And then I completely lost my steam, and it just didn't happen. But I do want to share with you the socks that I have knitted. I don't honestly think that I will get to 12 pairs by the end of the year, which is disappointing. I'm going to have to push on for next year to get 12 pairs done, because Kristen will be hosting the KAL again throughout 2017, which is really exciting. But I wanted to share with you what I've got in my box of socks. So a little disclaimer, some of these socks are in need of a wash because I have been wearing them every day. So some of them are looking a little bit worse for wear. I apologise for that. I just wanted to show you everything that I have been working on over the past year in terms of socks, because if I'm going to be a sock obsessed podcaster, we may as well go the whole hog and just talk about all of the socks, literally all of the socks. This is my box for the Box of Socks KAL. This was actually given to me for Christmas last year, and it was full of beautiful yarn. It was from my mummy. Hi mum, if you're watching. She always watches, my mum, she's amazing, love you. But she gave me this box and I really love it, and I must admit it's not big enough for all of the socks that I've got, but what I will be doing after this year finishes, so at the end of December, I'll be taking all of the socks out of here and actually putting them in my proper sock drawer so that I can wear them all of the time. But let's get started, and I'm going to show you all of the socks that I have knitted this year. There is a definite evolution of sock knitting to start off with. You may remember from a few episodes ago, I was talking about how my sock knitting has changed. I started off by knitting cuff down. I've now really embraced toe up. I am really loving toe up socks, but I like both ways of construction. I'm happy with both. But something I talked about was the fact that I started off knitting 64 stitch socks, and I'm now very much in love with 56 stitch socks, which means that I've done really quite a considerable decrease in the stitches that I've done. And that does unfortunately mean that some of the socks that I knitted at the beginning of this year just don't make me that happy anymore, because they really don't fit as much as I would like them to. But I'm going to share all of them with you so you can kind of see the development of my style. The first pair of socks that I knit this year are these. Aren't they fun? I really like these. These are actually, oh goodness, I've forgotten. I've forgotten. It's a very specific brand. West Yorkshire Spinners! West Yorkshire Spinners! And this was actually a Christmas gift last year. I started these on Christmas. This is the Kingfisher colourway, I believe. I'm pretty sure this is the Kingfisher. It's from their British Birds collection. These are 64 stitches. I did them cuff down. I also did an afterthought heel, so they both have afterthought heels, and just a simple rounded toe, which I really love. The only thing I would say, somehow I managed to get a bigger heel on this one than I did on this one. Can you see that? And they're huge on me. I mean, look at them, they're giant socks. I really can't imagine myself wearing these, which is such a shame because they are really fun. A little bit of a disappointment in terms of the way that they turned out, but I'm going to treat them as a learning curve, and I'll probably still wear them as bed socks, house socks, you know, more casual. And if I don't wear them, I'll just gift them to someone with slightly bigger feet than me, because they are lovely and squishy and gorgeous and so warm. That's the first pair. In terms of the next couple of socks that I made, rather than going for vanilla socks, I decided that I wanted to actually work with some pattern socks. And so one of the first patterns that I ever knitted up was these. And yes, these are in need of a wash, so forgive the slightly stretched out look. They're not actually that stinky because I wasn't wearing them on my feet, I was wearing them over tights, so they're actually okay. But these are this way that way pattern by the amazing Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat podcast. So you can see they've got this kind of zigzag slip stitch pattern that goes all of the way down. They are also in this really lovely Stellina colour yarn, Stellina base rather, and these I named very lovingly my pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbow socks. I love these. They are a little big for me. They're still 64 stitches as opposed to my preferred 56 now, but this is when I started doing my 1x1 twisted rib cuffs, and I just love them. Next up I have my Teenage Mutant Ninja socks. Remember these? These are all kind of blasts from the past if you've been with me for quite a long time. But again, I did 64 stitches, so these are quite big. But I did a contrast colour for the toe and the heel. This was my first ever Fish Lips Kiss heel in this, and I really love them. I did them in the white contrast colour. And I tried a 2x1 rib on these. Didn't really like it as much as my 1x1 twisted rib. But again, these are really fun, very bright, very vibrant, very Stellina-like, and squidgy and gorgeous. A couple more to share with you. I can't exactly remember what order I did these in, but this was my first ever London House Yarns yarn, and I love this. This was a sock duo. This is the I believe it's called the Four Founders. That's the colourway. Yeah, the Four Founders. It's Harry Potter. It has all of the colourways. So it has Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff and Slytherin. It's self-striping. It's amazing. I did black for the contrast heels and toes, and I think this is probably one of my favourite pairs of socks ever. Again, at this point, I'm still doing cuff down construction. I did a fish lips kiss heel and a rounded toe. I pinched this toe from the this way, that way socks that Mina did because I love her rounded toe, and that's in these. But I started to decrease my sock count, my stitch count at this point with these socks. These are 60 stitches. And they started to fit a lot better. Particularly, I find with some indie dyed yarn that the yarn is quite fine. So depending on the kind of weight of the yarn, I'll either kind of go for 60 stitches or for 56. And also I find that 56 stitches works really well for me because when we wear socks, they do tend to stretch. So 60 kind of fits me exactly when they're first knitted, but the more I wear them, the more they stretch out. So these have stretched out a little bit, but I love them. I love them so much. They're such a gorgeous colourway. This next pair of socks really is a firm favourite of mine, and it is my first ever colouring book yarns socks. I love these. This is the Merry Everything Hexy colourway. Self-striping gorgeousness. Look at those colours. Isn't it incredible? This really is a heel that I adore, and forgive the kind of felting. These are ones that are in need of a little bit of a wash, but this is just a normal kind of heel flap and gusset construction, and I used this kind of pinky, kind of lilac-y pinky colour for the heel. And then again, my rounded toe. These as well, I used 60 stitches as opposed to 64. But you can just see, I've been wearing these and you can see that the body of the sock is stretched, which is why, like I said, 56 is really the love for me. But I still adore these. This yarn, I can't tell you, it's so soft and so snuggly. I am such a fan of colouring book yarns, and I wish that she updated more. I mean, I think that she's particularly special because she tends to sneak in her updates and you never know if you're going to get a skein of her yarn. It's not particularly regular, but I just love her colourways. I think that they're incredible. Definitely a firm favourite. But again, at this point, I'm still doing cuff down, and I think this really was one of the last pairs of socks that I really enjoyed working on. It gets to this point in my sock knitting career that I started to lose my joy in it, and because of that I have two orphan socks to share with you. Here they are, my orphan socks. Aren't they sad and lonely? So this one really is a bit of a catastrophe for me. I am very much thinking that this is going to be frogged and re-knitted, and I know you're going to say, but why? Because it looks so lovely, and yes, it looks lovely, but there are a lot of things in this sock that I am just not happy with. One, look at how long it is. I think I got completely carried away with this yarn because it's beautiful. This is some of the Arnie and Carlos colourway. This is the Summer Nights, and it's beautiful, and I absolutely love it. The colours are incredible. But the problem is that with commercial yarn, I find that it's a lot kind of heavier fingering weight and sock weight yarn than, say, indie dyed yarn. And these I cast on as 64 stitch socks. Yes. So you can imagine how big these are. I mean, they're huge. Plus, I just knitted the sock too long in the leg. I would never wear a sock this long now, and I realise that now after knitting all of these other socks. I'm very happy with the heel construction that I did. This is actually the construction that I pinched from the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern, but it's this beautiful partridge heel. You can see, isn't that gorgeous? Really, really nice. But yes, I think there's really no point in having something like this unless you're going to wear it. So this poor little orphan sock is going to get frogged. The next little orphan is actually one of my favourite socks that I've ever knitted. This was a gift in a yarn swap that my lovely friend Jen sent me. So hi Jen, if you're watching. And this was, I called these my Boy Who Lived socks. It's the zigzagular sock pattern. So it's got this gorgeous zigzag that goes all the way down one side of the sock. Isn't that fun? but I just never got on to making the next one, which is such a shame because look at how fun. They're so much fun. This is one that I'll be definitely casting on its mate in the near future because it's so gorgeous. I'm not sure if it will be within the next month or so because I have so many other socks on the needles, but yeah, I really, really love this. So at the moment, this sits in the box of socks as a lonely orphan, but I will be casting on the second one. The next pair of socks I knitted this year is actually a pair of shorty socks. You guys are gonna know these because I've only shared these with you recently, and that is my Harley Quinn socks. Aren't they amazing? This was mother of pearl yarn that was sent to me. The main colour is of course Daddy's Little Monster, and she sent me these kind of different contrasting skeins of red and blue to do my different toes on them, and I really, really love these socks. These are definitely the socks that got me back into sock knitting, and a lot of that is to do with just how gorgeous the yarn is. I'm a huge fan of mother of pearl yarns. Look at them. My most recent pairs of socks, obviously the ones that I'm currently wearing on my feet, my Pumpkin Spice socks, which I love and are so comfortable and beautiful, and these ones, which yes, have been worn recently. They're in need of a little spring clean, but this is very much the way that I want to knit my socks, all my vanilla socks in the future. This is No Makers yarn in their Bertie Bott's colourway. You guys have seen these. And their stellinery goodness. These are my bonfire socks, and this is the construction that I'm totally in love with. Toe up, 56 stitches, a wrap and turn heel, a little bit of a leg, and then a 1x1 twisted rib for about 20 rounds. It is so good and I love it so much, but basically that puts my total count of socks at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on my feet, 8.5, and then obviously I have all of the socks that are currently on my needles. Even if I finish my toffee apple socks, so that would be 9, my advent socks 10, and my Yule Ball socks 11, that still puts me 1 sock short of my goal of 12. So I don't think I'm going to make the goal of 12, but look at them. Look at them. They make me happy, and that's what's important. But these are the socks that I have knitted. And I have found this past year really interesting in terms of how my style has developed and changed. I really didn't think that it would make that much of a difference, kind of different constructions and different stitch counts. I just thought it's going to be pretty much just, you know, bang out a couple of socks and that will be it. But I find the whole thing really, really fascinating and I love it. I've loved my sock journey this year. I hope that you found that kind of interesting. Lots of people have been asking me some questions about what I tend to do with my socks in terms of how I knit them, what I use to knit them, how I've come to the journey that I have. I think at some point I will be, probably in January, uploading a how I knit my socks video just to show you exactly how I do my socks in terms of my preferred vanilla sock pattern. If that's something that you're interested in, pop a comment down below, please let me know, but I do think it's something that I'd like to do in the new year. I love my socks. I'm a little disappointed with myself that I won't have 12 pairs by the end of this year, but you know, that's just me getting in the right frame of mind for next year. So yay, socks, box of socks, love it, love it, love it, love it. And it's a habit, it's a problem, because I am sitting here right now thinking, yeah, but I could cast on another pair of socks and that would be amazing. Utterly ridiculous. Really, really ridiculous. Moving on from socks, and I know that's been a lot of socks, I now want to do a little bit of stash enhancement. As I said, I'm going to share with you my Kate Celine Advent calendar, which I have absolutely loved, and I just want to talk a little bit about Kate Celine in general, because along with the advent calendar she also sent me some other goodies and I'm really, really excited to share those with you. So first of all, this is how my advent calendar arrived. Isn't this gorgeous? So Kate, her colours, I think, pretty much all these polka dot red type of fabrics, she uses it for a lot of her advertising, her cards. I think this is just very reminiscent of her style. I've seen some pictures on Instagram of her house, and I think she has a lot of red polka dot in her home, so it's just perfect for her. And as you can see, it has her little label on here, Kate Celine. Little bits of ribbon, little bits of red and white string everywhere. It's so carefully thought out. I just love it. It's beautiful. I genuinely am so happy with this. Each one of the little mini skeins of yarn come wrapped up in this little bundle. I'm just gonna pull one out so I can show you what they look like. Ooh, number 20. They look like little Christmas crackers. Isn't that gorgeous? They're wrapped up in red tissue paper. Each one of them has a number. Focus. Each one of them has a number, so you know which day you're getting. And you just unwrap it, and inside is beautiful yarn. Beautiful yarn, so beautiful to behold, it's not even true. But I love this advent calendar. It makes me so happy. I just want to carry it around all the time, but I'm not allowed to, because if I do that, I will open up all of the days and knit them all into my socks, and it will just be a travesty, because I can't do that. I can't just knit them all into my socks. That's the whole point. It's supposed to be one a day. But can you blame me? Wouldn't you just want to get in there and get all of those minis out? Seriously? When I purchased the advent calendar from her, she was kind enough to send me a couple of other little goodies, and I'm really excited to share them with you. So they've actually been sitting behind me this whole time, so the beady-eyed among you have already spotted these. But first of all, Kate also sent me a selection of minis, which is just fantastic, because the more minis that I have of her yarn, the happier that I am. If you look at this skein here, I would say the main colour is a grey, but can you see how many other colours are in here? Oh, I love this colour. I'm going to have to find out from Kate which colour this is, because I definitely want socks out of this, like a whole skein of this in the future. I'll need to order that. But she also has some more kind of dual tones. This is green and white. This is green and grey, but again, it has loads of different tones in it. This is primarily green. Green here. And then right at the back is this grey. But even this grey has so much depth in it, so many different tones of grey. It's beautiful. And all wrapped together with the signature red polka dot ribbon. Just little touches like this are fantastic. But the skein of yarn that she sent me makes me so happy. When we originally talked, I told her that I was in love with this colour. Look at this green. It's so vibrant, but it has these little speckles of black running all the way through it. It's amazing. I can't wait to knit some socks out of this. It's going to be beautiful. I just need to find the exact right contrast, I think, for heels and toes, although I'm very tempted just to knit my entire socks in this colourway because it's just beautiful. But I am dreaming of making a garment in this colour at some point. I think I may need to get a custom order in when I'm a little bit more flush, hopefully after Christmas, because I just think this in like a cardigan, that would just be something special, don't you think? And again, this is her label, Kate Celine. Lovely little touch of ribbon, just so special. All those special touches. I'm so happy. I feel so lucky that Kate sent these to me. Thank you so much, Kate. Honestly, you made my day. I mean, the advent calendar alone made my day, but the fact that you included such beautiful things with it was just amazing. One more thing that was included in the parcel as well, which I almost forgot about, but I have to share with you, is the cutest little stitch marker ever. Look, it's a little toadstool. I love it, and it's actually ceramic. It's really lovely quality. Oh, I actually think it's glass. not ceramic, it's glass, little glass toadstool. And again, it's just perfect. The little red with the dots, it matches Kate's style so much. And it just, I mean, I would wear that, to be honest, as a piece of jewellery, like a pendant or something. It's such lovely quality. And of course it came in a polka dot bag because Kate's attention to detail is just superb. Honestly, guys, you couldn't go wrong ordering from Kate, that's all I can say. If you are thinking about treating yourself before Christmas, or, you know, after Christmas, if you're feeling the blues, you know, make sure that you check out her website and just spoil yourself with some of her yarn, because she's incredible. Thank you so much, Kate, for sending these things to me. It's incredibly generous of you, and I cannot wait to finish using your advent calendar if I can stop myself doing it every day and using every single skein already. I can't promise anything, but you're amazing. Thank you so much. And guys, I'll pop all of her details in my show notes. Please go and check her out. This has ended up being a much longer episode than I envisioned when I started filming today, because I felt like an episode that was pretty much just talking about socks was not going to be that long. Boy, was I wrong. I can talk about socks till the cows come home, apparently. But that is everything for the yarny creative segments of the podcast this week. So of course it's time to move on to my final segment, which is General Waffle. General Waffle. For this week's General Waffle, I wanted to talk very briefly about something that I've kind of talked about little bits and pieces throughout this episode, and that's basically doing what makes your heart happy. One of my worst personal traits, or at least I think one of my worst personal traits, is the fact that I tend to set goals for myself that are utterly unattainable. In an ideal world, I would have this year knitted 100 pairs of socks. Well, let's be realistic. I would be hoping for about 20. I would be hoping for a whole wardrobe full of both hand sewn and hand knitted garments. And I do tend to set goals for myself that I anticipate that I'll be able to do that. Case in point, my Cascade duffel coat. I want a new coat, I want it handmade, and yet for some reason I'm finding it difficult to get started. I feel guilty that I haven't worked on my sweaters for the past couple of weeks. I feel guilty that I'm not spending a lot of my free time gift knitting for members of my family for Christmas, rather than being this selfish person who just knits for herself. And yet, when it gets down to it, this is something that we do because we love it. We craft because it makes us happy, because it gives us a sense of serenity and peace and calm that I, for one, don't find anywhere else. And I just wanted to take a little moment to say, with this time of year, with Pinterest, with Instagram, with Vlogmas that's popping up everywhere, we tend to start setting this idea for ourselves that everything has to be perfect, everything has to be just so, particularly in festive holiday seasons, otherwise we're somehow less of a crafter or less of a creative person. And really, when it comes down to it, you just need to do what makes you happy. It doesn't matter if I haven't finished my duffel coat by the end of this year. It doesn't matter if I haven't finished it in time to take it to Vogue Knitting Live in January. It doesn't matter that I haven't got all of the pairs of socks for the box of socks KAL, because I have a load of beautiful socks that I've knitted this year that make me happy. If I'm not interested in knitting on my sweaters, it doesn't matter if I don't have a new one in time for Christmas. My family won't think I love them any less if I don't make them each an individually hand-knitted matching Christmas jumper, although that would be absolutely incredible because they would look so cute. Basically what I'm trying to say is this is a very difficult time of year for a lot of people who think that they're somehow not living up to expectations because of the weird kind of rose-tinted view that a lot of us put on the world from spending our time on Pinterest and Instagram and all of that lovely social media stuff that we do. Please, please, please just do what makes you happy. If it makes you happy to hand knit all of those matching Christmas jumpers from your family, then please do it. But if it doesn't, don't feel obligated to do it just because you're a knitter and you can make things and therefore you somehow feel that you have to hand make all of your Christmas gifts. You know, if it makes you happy to just knit socks, just knit socks. And let's be honest, if it makes you happy to open your advent calendar early, then do it, because life is too short. And like I say about this all the time, knitting and sewing and crochet and cross stitch and weaving and spinning, we do it because it brings us joy, not because of having to meet some kind of quota of I knitted this many garments this year, so therefore it makes me a serious knitter, or I, you know, hand stitched an entire wardrobe of beautiful clothes. That's an incredible achievement and that's an amazing thing to do, but that's not really why we do it when all's said and done. So I'm going to try and hold that in my heart for the next month. Just breathe, take a step back and do what makes you happy. I hope that helps some of you who may be in the same position as me and may be feeling the same way that I do around at this time of year, but just know that I think that you're all awesome, that you have incredible skills and talents, and you need to appreciate those things. That's everything from me this week. It has been a bit of a waffly episode. I've gone on longer than I really should have, particularly regarding socks. So please forgive me. I am going to promise you, and that's fairly serious, but I'm going to promise you to bring you more than socks next week. Let's be honest, there's going to be socks, but a little bit more. Socks plus next week. But thank you, as always, for watching. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video if you've enjoyed what you're seeing. I am doing Vlogmas this month, so there will be uploads every day. But even in the new year and after Vlogmas, I have some really fun things planned. So now is as good a time as any to subscribe. I hope you all have an incredible week filled with festive, Christmassy, if that's what you're celebrating, crafty goodness, and just a really, really awesome time. I'll see you all really soon, but for now, happy sewing and happy knitting. Bye! Love them so much. I love them. I love the socks.